Jude's laughter echoed through the kitchen as I helped him build a tower of pancakes, each layer dripping with maple syrup. His small hands carefully placed blueberries in smiley face patterns, concentration etched on his features. These Saturday morning rituals had become our thing over the past 3 years, ever since my sister Ingrid had started her finding herself phase. I'm Noelle, and at 32, I'd somehow become the de facto mother to my 8-year-old nephew. Not that I'm complaining. Jude is the brightest light in my life. Aunt Noelle, can we make one for Mom too? Jude asked, his blue eyes, so much like Ingrid's, looking up at me hopefully. My heart clenched. Sure, buddy, but you know your mom's probably still sleeping. Yeah, she always sleeps late when she comes home late, he said matter-of-factly, reaching for another pancake. The casual way he accepted his mother's absence made my blood boil, but I kept my voice steady. Hey, how about we take these to the living room and watch some cartoons? As Jude settled on the couch, syrupy plate balanced carefully on his lap, my phone buzzed. Another text from Ingrid. Thanks, sis, you're the best. Had the most amazing night. Might stay at John's for brunch. Kiss Jude for me. I typed back a quick, okay, and slipped the phone into my pocket. The familiar mix of anger and resignation settled in my stomach like lead. Aunt Noelle? Jude's voice pulled me from my thoughts. Will you help me with my science project later? It's due Monday. Of course, what's it about? We have to make a family tree, he said, pushing his empty plate aside. Ms. Thompson says we need pictures too. I froze. That sounds fun. Let me grab the old photo albums from the study. In the study, I pulled out the heavy albums from the bottom shelf. A manila envelope fell out, spilling papers across the floor. As I gathered them up, a bank statement caught my eye. It was addressed to Ingrid, but something about the numbers made me pause. Aunt Noelle, Jude called from the living room. Can we use the picture from the beach last summer? Coming! I stuffed the papers back into the envelope, but not before noticing the child support payment amounts. Numbers that didn't add up to Jude's basic needs, let alone the designer clothes and exotic vacations that seemed to fill Ingrid's social media. We spent the afternoon creating Jude's family tree, carefully gluing photos onto colorful construction paper. Each picture told a story. Holidays, birthdays, first days of school. In almost every recent one, I was there instead of Ingrid. This is my favorite, Jude said, pointing to a photo from last Christmas. In it, he sat between Ingrid and me, his smile bright, but his body leaning slightly toward my side. I remembered that day clearly. Ingrid had shown up 3 hours late to our family dinner, full of excuses about traffic. The doorbell rang, startling us both. My friend Van stood on the porch, holding a pizza box. Thought you two might be hungry, he said with a grin. Van! Jude launched himself at my friend's legs. We're making a family tree. That's awesome, buddy. Mind if I take a look? As Jude proudly showed Van his project, I slipped back to the study and retrieved the envelope. Something wasn't right, and I needed to know what. Hey, Van, I called out. Could you stay with Jude for a few minutes? I need to make a quick phone call. Van's expression turned serious as he caught my tone. Sure, no problem. Hey, Jude, want to see if we can build a pizza tower? In my bedroom, I spread the papers across my bed. Bank statements, receipts, legal documents, all telling a story that made my hands shake with rage. The child support payments from Jude's father, the ones meant for his education and care, had been funding Ingrid's partying lifestyle for months. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Ingrid. Having the best time. Might head to Miami next weekend with John. You'll watch Jude, right? You're so much better at the mom stuff anyway. I stared at the message, then at the papers scattered across my bed. The sound of Jude's laughter drifted up from downstairs, mixed with Van's playful voice. In that moment, something inside me hardened into resolve. You're right about one thing, sis, I whispered to the empty room. I am better at the mom stuff, and it's time I did something about it. After tucking Jude into bed that night, I spread the documents across my kitchen table. Van sat across from me, his lawyer brain already in high gear as he shuffled through the papers. This is bad, Noelle. Really bad, he said, tapping a highlighted section. These transfers to her personal account. They're systematic. Every time the child support comes in, she moves it straight to her travel fund. I gripped my coffee mug tighter. How long has this been going on? Based on these statements, at least 8 months. Van ran a hand through his hair. And these credit card bills in Jude's name? That's fraud. In his name? My voice cracked. She opened credit cards in his name? 2 of them, both maxed out. He pushed the statements toward me. Look at the charges. Hotels in Vegas, flights to Cancun, designer shopping sprees. My phone lit up with a notification. Ingrid had just posted on Instagram, another glamorous photo at some rooftop bar, cocktail in hand, caption reading, "Living my best life. Deister blessed, Messer no regrets." I'm going to be sick, I muttered, pushing away from the table. Van caught my arm. Wait, before you do anything rash, we need a plan. You want custody of Jude, right? More than anything. Then we need to be smart about this. I know a family law attorney, Anton. He's tough, but he's good. Let me make a call. While Van stepped outside to make his call, I opened my laptop and started digging deeper. Ingrid's social media was a goldmine of evidence. Time-stamped photos showing her partying while Jude was sick, check-ins at expensive restaurants on days she claimed she couldn't afford his school supplies. Got you, I whispered, downloading everything. Van came back in, already typing on his phone. Anton can see us tomorrow at 9, but Noelle, there's something else you should see. He pulled up a video on his phone. It was shaky footage from someone's Instagram story, showing Ingrid at what looked like a yacht party. She was laughing, drink in hand, as she talked to someone off camera. Just send the kid to my sister, Ingrid's voice came through clearly. She's so desperate to play mommy, it's pathetic. Meanwhile, I'm living it up on his dad's dime. The phone slipped from my trembling hands, clattering onto the table. When was this? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. 3 days ago. Miami. Van's expression was grim. One of my paralegal friends follows someone who was there. She recognized Ingrid from your photos and sent this to me. A small noise from the doorway made us both turn. Jude stood there in his dinosaur pajamas, clutching his stuffed tiger. I had a bad dream, he said softly. I was across the room in seconds, scooping him up. It's okay, baby. I've got you. Over Jude's shoulder, I met Van's eyes. He nodded, already gathering the documents into a folder. Want me to make you some hot chocolate? I asked Jude, forcing cheerfulness into my voice. With marshmallows? Extra marshmallows. As I heated the milk, Van quietly packed up, pausing at the door. 9 a.m. tomorrow. I'll pick you up at 8:30. After Jude fell asleep again, this time in my bed, I sat in the dim light of my laptop, creating folders of evidence, bank statements, social media posts, text messages where Ingrid casually dumped her responsibilities on me while bragging about her latest adventures. My phone buzzed with a text from Tamara. Girl, you won't believe who I just saw at the Grove. Your sister shopping up a storm with some new guy. Definitely not John. Want me to keep an eye on her? I typed back quickly. Yes, document everything. Another notification popped up. Ingrid had tagged herself at a new club downtown. The caption read, Thursday's the new Friday. Who needs responsibility when you're having this much fun? I clicked on the location tag and felt my blood run cold. In the background of one photo, barely visible but unmistakable, was a document that looked exactly like Jude's medical insurance card, the one I'd been asking her to send me for weeks, the one she claimed she couldn't find. Got you again, sis, I muttered, saving the photo. Jude stirred in his sleep, and I gently brushed his hair back from his forehead. 3 years I'd been picking up Ingrid's slack, making excuses for her absence, trying to protect him from the truth about his mother. But now, watching him sleep peacefully, trusting that I'd keep him safe, I knew it was time to stop protecting Ingrid and start protecting him instead. Tomorrow's meeting with Anton couldn't come soon enough. The evidence was mounting, and my patience had run out. Ingrid wanted to play games with her son's future? Fine. But she was about to learn that some games have consequences. Anton's office smelled of leather and coffee. He flipped through our evidence folder with methodical precision, while Van and I sat across from his imposing desk. This is compelling, Anton said, pausing at the yacht party video. But we need to be strategic. Have you confronted your sister about any of this? Not yet, I replied. I wanted to get legal advice first. Smart. He leaned forward. Here's what we're going to do. Set up a casual meeting with Ingrid. Feel her out, but don't show your cards. Record everything. Check if your state allows one-party recording first, Van? Van nodded. Already checked. We're good. My phone buzzed. Speak of the devil. Hey, sis! Ingrid's voice chirped through the speaker. Lunch today? I have the most amazing news! I met Anton's eyes. He nodded encouragingly. Sure, I said, keeping my voice light. The usual place at 1? Perfect! You're the best! The cafe was busy when I arrived. Ingrid was already there, wearing designer sunglasses and typing furiously on her phone. My recording app was running in my pocket as I sat down. Noelle, she squealed, air-kissing my cheek. You won't believe it. John's taking me to Paris next month. Isn't that incredible? Paris? I stirred my coffee slowly. What about Jude's school play? He's got the lead role. Ingrid waved dismissively. Oh, you can record it for me. He understands. Mommy needs her me time. Like Miami last weekend? The words slipped out before I could stop them. She paused, sunglasses sliding down slightly. How did you know about Miami? Instagram, I said smoothly. Looked like fun. Oh, it was amazing. The yacht parties, the shopping. She leaned forward conspiratorially. Actually, I need a tiny favor. Could you cover Jude's school fees this month? The Paris trip was a bit more expensive than I expected. My hand tightened around my coffee cup. What about the child support payments? What about them? Shouldn't that cover his school fees? Ingrid's smile faltered for a split second. Oh, you know how it is. Everything's so expensive these days. But you're so good with money, and you love helping with Jude. Where exactly does the child support money go, Ingrid? The temperature between us dropped 10 degrees. Ingrid's perfectly manicured nails drummed on the table. Are you implying something? Her voice had lost its sugar coating. Just asking a simple question. I don't like your tone. She grabbed her designer bag. If you're going to be judgmental about how I manage my money, your money, it's Jude's money. She stood abruptly. I'm his mother. I decide what's best for him. When was the last time you actually made a decision about him, without pawning it off on me? You know what? Ingrid hissed, leaning close. You're just jealous. Jealous that I have a life while you're playing house with my kid. The cafe door chimed as she stormed out, leaving me with a half-empty coffee cup and a recording that would make Anton very happy. My phone buzzed immediately, a text from Tamara. You okay? Just saw Ingrid tear out of the cafe parking lot like a bat out of hell. Before I could respond, another message came through, this time from John, Ingrid's boyfriend. Hey, weird question, but did Ingrid ever give you Jude's social security card back? Can't find it in her files. My blood ran cold. I forwarded the message to Van and Anton immediately. Come to the office, Anton replied within seconds. We need to move faster than planned. As I drove to his office, my phone kept lighting up with notifications. Ingrid was on a posting spree, angry quotes about toxic family and jealous sisters flooding her Instagram story. Then came her message, hope you're happy. Since you're so concerned about my son, why don't you just take him? See how you like being a full-time mom with no help. Have fun giving up your whole life. I pulled over, hands shaking as I typed my response. Careful what you wish for, sis. At Anton's office, he was already pulling up additional documents. This is perfect, he said, reading through my recorded conversation. She practically admitted to misusing the support payments. And with John's text about the Social Security card. What do we do now? Now? Anton smiled grimly. Now we file for emergency custody. But first, call this number. He slid a business card across the desk. It's for a fraud investigator I work with. If Ingrid's been opening accounts in Jude's name, we need to know exactly what we're dealing with. I stared at the card, remembering Ingrid's parting shot about giving up my whole life. She's wrong, you know, Van said quietly. You're not giving up your life. You're fighting for it. Yours and Jude's. The fraud investigator's report landed in my inbox at 3 a.m., but I was already awake, sitting at my kitchen table with Tamara. Sleep had become a distant memory since the cafe confrontation 3 days ago. 3 credit cards, I read aloud, scrolling through the document. 2 personal loans, all in his name. How is this even possible? He's 8. Tamara reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Have you thought about how you're going to tell him? The question I'd been avoiding hit me like a punch to the gut. How do you tell a kid his mother's been stealing his identity? The same way you tell him everything else, with love and honesty. My phone lit up with a text from John. Heads up, Ingrid's on her way to your place. She's drunk and angry. Perfect, I muttered, showing Tamara the message. Just perfect. The doorbell rang moments later, followed by aggressive knocking. I opened the door to find Ingrid swaying slightly, mascara smeared under her eyes. Where's my son? She demanded, pushing past me. Sleeping, I said firmly. It's the middle of the night, Ingrid. I want to see him. She started toward the stairs, but Tamara blocked her path. Not like this, Tamara said. You're drunk. Oh, look who it is, the other wannabe mommy, Ingrid sneered. You two just love playing house with my kid, don't you? Someone has to be there for him, I shot back, while you're maxing out credit cards in his name. The color drained from Ingrid's face. You went through my things? No, a fraud investigator did. Want to explain the loans, Ingrid? The credit cards? Aunt Noelle? A small voice from the stairs made us all freeze. Jude stood there in his pajamas, clutching his tiger. Mom, what's happening? Baby! Ingrid lurched toward the stairs. Mommy's here to take you home. You're not taking him anywhere, I stepped between them. Tamara, can you take Jude back to bed? No, Ingrid grabbed my arm. You can't keep my son from me. Mom, you're scary. Jude's voice trembled. I want to stay with Aunt Noelle. The words seemed to hit Ingrid like a physical blow. She staggered back, bumping into the wall. You've turned him against me, she whispered. My own son. You did that yourself, I said quietly. Every time you chose partying over his school events. Every time you spent his future on designer bags and yacht parties. Aunt Noelle? Jude had moved closer, ignoring Tamara's gentle attempts to lead him upstairs. Is Mom okay? The concern in his voice, concern for the woman who'd betrayed him in ways he couldn't yet understand, broke something inside me. Your mom needs help, buddy, I said, kneeling to his level. And until she gets it, you're going to stay with me. Is that okay? He nodded, then looked at Ingrid. Mom, are you going to get help? Ingrid slid down the wall to sit on the floor, her designer dress crumpling around her. You don't understand, she sobbed. Any of you. I never wanted this responsibility. I never wanted... Me? Jude's voice was small. No, baby, that's not... Ingrid reached for him, but he stepped back, pressing against my side. I think you should leave, Tamara said firmly. Before you say something else you can't take back. Fine, Ingrid stumbled to her feet. Fine. Keep him. You've always wanted to replace me anyway. She yanked the door open, then turned back with a bitter laugh. You know what's funny? You'll see. You'll see how hard it is, giving up everything for someone else. Your freedom, your dreams, your life, it all goes away. And then you'll understand why I needed an escape. The door slammed behind her. In the sudden silence, I could hear Jude's quiet sniffles. Hey, I pulled him close. How about some hot chocolate? Later, after Jude had finally fallen asleep in my bed again, Tamara and I sat on my back porch, watching the sun rise. You're doing the right thing, she said softly. Am I? You heard her? I'm taking away his mother. No, you're protecting him from someone who's proven she'll hurt him. There's a difference. My phone buzzed with a text from Van. Just got a call from Anton. Emergency custody hearing set for next week. You ready? Before I could respond, another message came through. From John. Found something you need to see. Ingrid's been planning to take Jude out of the country. Passport application with forged signatures. Meeting tomorrow? I showed Tamara the message, my hands shaking. Still questioning if you're doing the right thing? She asked. I looked through my kitchen window, where I could see Jude sleeping peacefully, unaware of the storm gathering around him. "No," I replied, "not anymore." The coffee shop where I met John was quiet, tucked away from the usual morning rush. He looked exhausted, dark circles under his eyes as he slid a manila envelope across the table. "Found these in her desk drawer," he said. "Passport application, fake school transfer papers, one-way tickets to Bali." My hands trembled as I opened the envelope. When was she planning this? "Next month, right after Paris." He ran a hand through his disheveled hair. "Look, I knew she was irresponsible. But this is criminal." "Why are you helping me?" I asked, studying his face. "Because last night, she was drunk, talking about how she'd be free once she got Jude away from everyone." He leaned forward. "She said she'd dump him with her friends in Bali while she found herself in Asia." My phone buzzed. A text from Ingrid. "Missing my baby boy. Dinner tonight? Just the three of us?" "She's trying to act normal." I showed John the message. "Like nothing happened." "Don't let her near him." John stood up. "I've got to go. She can't know I was here. But Noelle? Be careful. She's desperate." Back home, I found Van and Tamara in my kitchen with Anton, surrounded by papers. "We've got the hearing moved up," Anton said without preamble. "Tomorrow morning, Judge Rogers took one look at the fraud evidence and the passport application and cleared her schedule." "That fast?" "Identity theft of a minor, attempted kidnapping. They take this seriously." He shuffled through some documents. "But we need to prepare you for what's coming. Ingrid's hired counsel." "Who?" "Marcus Thompson. He's known for aggressive tactics. He'll try to paint you as obsessed with replacing Ingrid, maybe even claim you manipulated evidence." The doorbell rang. Through the window, I saw Ingrid standing there, looking perfectly put together in a conservative dress. "Right on cue," Van muttered. "Remember," Anton whispered, "don't engage. Don't let her in. Record everything." I opened the door slightly, keeping the chain on. "Now's not a good time, Ingrid." "I just want to see my son." Her voice was honey-sweet. "I brought his favorite cookies." "You mean the ones he's allergic to?" Her smile faltered. "What? No, he loves chocolate chip." "He's allergic to chocolate, Ingrid. Has been since he was 5. You'd know that if you'd been to any of his doctor's appointments." "Fine." Her voice hardened. "I tried being nice. But you can't keep my son from me. I'm his mother." "A mother who was planning to abandon him in Bali?" She stepped back like I'd slapped her. "Who told you?" Her eyes narrowed. "John. That bastard." "Go home, Ingrid. We'll see you in court tomorrow." "Tomorrow?" For the first time, fear crept into her expression. "What's tomorrow?" "Check with your lawyer." I started to close the door, but she jammed her foot in. "You think you've won?" she hissed. "You think any judge will choose you over a child's real mother? I'll tell them how you've always been jealous of me, how you've tried to steal my son since day one." "Aunt Noelle?" Jude's voice came from behind me. "Is that Mom?" Ingrid's face transformed instantly. "Baby, oh, I've missed you so much." "Don't move, Jude," Van called out, his phone clearly recording. "Stay where you are." "Why can't I see him?" Ingrid's voice rose hysterically. "What lies have you been telling him?" "No lies," Jude said quietly. "I saw the videos of you talking about using my money." The color drained from Ingrid's face. "Baby, no, you don't understand." "I understand that you hurt me," his voice wobbled. "Miss Thompson at school says that's what identity theft means. You hurt my future." Ingrid stumbled back, her perfect facade cracking. "This isn't over," she pointed at me. "You'll regret turning him against me." As she stormed off, I closed the door and turned to find Jude crying silently. I pulled him into a hug. "You were so brave," I whispered. "Did you get all that?" Anton asked Van, who nodded, stopping the recording. "Perfect for tomorrow. Her threats, the attempted forced entry, the manipulation. Judge Rogers will love it." My phone lit up with rapid-fire texts from Ingrid. "You've ruined everything. He'll hate you for this. I should have taken him away when I had the chance." I blocked her number and held Jude tighter. "What happens now?" he asked, his face buried in my shoulder. "Now," I kissed the top of his head, We get ready for tomorrow, and then we start building a better future, together. Tamara brought over 2 cups of hot chocolate, both topped with whipped cream. And you're not doing it alone, she said firmly. Looking around my kitchen, at Van organizing documents, Anton making calls, Tamara comforting Jude, and the army of support we'd built, I finally felt ready for whatever tomorrow would bring. The war wasn't over, but for the first time I knew we'd win. The courthouse hallway felt colder than it should for a summer morning. Jude sat between Tamara and Van on a wooden bench, his small legs swinging nervously while I paced. "Stop wearing a path in the floor," Van said gently. "You're making me dizzy." "Where is she?" I checked my phone again. "The hearing starts in 10 minutes. As if on cue, the heavy doors burst open. Ingrid swept in wearing a conservative navy dress, her lawyer Marcus trailing behind her. She'd styled her hair to look exactly like mine. "Copying my look won't help your case," I muttered as she passed. She paused, leaning close. "No, but it'll help convince the judge how desperately you want to be me." "All parties for the Blair custody hearing," a clerk called out. Inside the courtroom, everything happened fast. Anton presented our evidence methodically. Bank statements, credit card fraud documents, social media posts, the passport application, John's written testimony. Marcus stood up, straightening his tie. "Your Honor, my client admits to some financial mismanagement, but these actions, while regrettable, don't negate her fundamental right as a mother. Ms. Noelle Blair has orchestrated a campaign to alienate a child from his mother." "Objection," Anton interrupted. "Counsel is making unsubstantiated claims." "Sustained." Judge Rogers peered over her glasses. "Mr. Thompson, do you have evidence of this alleged alienation?" "We have evidence of an unhealthy obsession." Marcus played a video on the courtroom screen. My heart sank as I recognized the footage. Every school event, every doctor's appointment, every parent-teacher conference I'd attended with Jude over the years. "As you can see," Marcus continued, "Ms. Noelle has inserted herself into every aspect of the child's life, systematically replacing my client." "Because she wasn't there!" Jude's voice rang out suddenly. "Mom never came." "Jude, honey," Ingrid started. "No!" He stood up, shaking. "You promised to come to my play. You promised to be at my science fair. Aunt Noelle was there because you weren't." "Order," Judge Rogers called softly. "Young man, would you like to speak with me privately in my chambers?" Jude nodded, squeezing my hand before following the judge. "This is your fault," Ingrid hissed across the aisle. "You've poisoned him against me." "Ms. Blair," Judge Rogers warned as she returned, "control yourself or you'll be removed." The next hour was brutal. Marcus tried to paint me as an obsessed aunt trying to steal a child from his mother. Anton countered with evidence of Ingrid's neglect, the fraud, the attempted kidnapping plot. Then came the recordings. "Just send the kid to my sister. I'm living it up on his dad's dime." Ingrid's voice filled the courtroom, followed by footage from my doorstep. "You think you've won? You think any judge will choose you over a real mother?" "Your Honor," Marcus jumped up, "these recordings were legally obtained in a one-party consent state," Anton finished. "And there's more." He played Ingrid's social media videos, dozens of them, spanning months. Each showed her partying, traveling, shopping, all while Jude's education fund was drained and credit cards in his name maxed out. "Enough," Judge Rogers held up her hand. "I've seen sufficient evidence. After speaking with the minor child and reviewing all documentation, I'm prepared to make my ruling." My heart hammered as she continued. "Ms. Ingrid Blair, your actions show a pattern of neglect, financial abuse, and attempted parental kidnapping. I'm granting full custody to Ms. Noelle Blair, with supervised visitation for the mother pending completion of parenting classes and financial counseling." "No!" Ingrid shot to her feet. "You can't do this. He's my son." "Mom, please," Jude's voice quivered. "Just get help." "This isn't over." She grabbed her designer bag. "I'll appeal. Ms. Blair," Judge Rogers' voice cut like steel. "Any attempt to violate this order will result in criminal charges. Do you understand?" Ingrid stormed out, Marcus hurrying after her. Outside the courthouse, Jude was quiet as we walked to the car. "Ice cream?" Van suggested. "I think we all earned it." "Can we go home instead?" Jude asked softly. "I just want to go home." Of course, buddy. As we drove, my phone lit up with messages from unknown numbers. Ingrid using her friends' phones to bypass the block. You'll regret this. Watch your back. This isn't the end. Van took my phone. I'll handle this. Anton's already drafting a restraining order. At home, Jude went straight to his room. I found him sitting on his bed, holding a family photo from before everything fell apart. Hey, I sat beside him. Want to talk about it? Did I do the right thing? He whispered. Telling the judge everything? You told the truth. That's always right. He leaned against me. She's still my mom. Yes, she is, and maybe someday she'll get the help she needs. But until then, you're safe. That's what matters. Promise you won't leave too? I pulled him close, feeling his tears soak into my shirt. Never. We're in this together, remember? Outside, I heard Tamara and Van in the kitchen, probably starting dinner. My phone was blessedly silent. For now, at least, we had peace. But something told me Ingrid wasn't done fighting yet. 3 weeks after the custody hearing, I was helping Jude with his homework when the doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw Ingrid, sober, subdued, and dressed more simply than I'd seen her in years. What do you want? I asked through the door. To talk. Please. Her voice lacked its usual sharp edge. I'm not here to fight. I opened the door but blocked the entrance. 5 minutes. I've been in therapy, she said quietly, twice a week, and I joined a support group for gambling addiction. Gambling? That's where most of the money went, not just the parties and travel. I had debts. She wrapped her arms around herself. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I needed you to know I'm trying. Before I could respond, Jude appeared behind me. Mom? Hi, baby, she said softly, but didn't move toward him. Progress, maybe. Are you better now? His voice was small but steady. I'm working on it, really working on it this time. She pulled something from her purse, a folder. This is for you, Noelle. The therapist helped me put it together. Inside were payment plans, credit repair documents, and a notarized letter accepting full responsibility for the fraudulent accounts in Jude's name. It's not enough, she continued. I know that, but it's a start. Mom? Jude stepped forward. Did you really hate being my mother? Ingrid's composure cracked. No, baby, I was sick. Selfish and sick. I didn't hate being your mother. I hated myself for failing at it. You haven't earned this conversation yet, I said firmly. Not until you've proven... A car screeched to a halt in front of the house. John jumped out, running toward us. She's not here for reconciliation, he panted. She's creating an alibi. What? I turned back to Ingrid, who had gone pale. John, don't... Tell them about Marcus, he demanded. Tell them what you're really doing here. Marcus? I pushed Jude behind me. Your lawyer? He's filing emergency appeals in 3 different jurisdictions, John explained. While she's here making amends, he's trying to get the custody ruling overturned on technical grounds. Is that true? Jude's voice trembled. Ingrid's mask slipped. You don't understand. None of you do. That judge had no right. To protect my future? Jude stepped around me. To stop you from stealing from me? I'm your mother. No, he said quietly. You're just someone who gave birth to me. Aunt Noelle is my mother. The words hung in the air like thunder before a storm. You did this, Ingrid lunged at me. You turned him against me. John caught her arms. That's enough. This is exactly why you lost custody. Get out, I said coldly, and tell Marcus not to waste his time. We'll fight every appeal. You can't keep my son forever, she spat. One day he'll see through you. No, Mom. Jude's voice was stronger now. One day you'll see what you threw away. As John led her away, she turned back one last time. You think you've won? You think this is over? Chaos always comes back around, sister dear. Always. You're right, I called after her. Chaos does come back, but some of us learn to flourish in it. While others? I looked pointedly at her designer bag, now stuffed with legal papers instead of stolen money. Others just keep drowning. Inside, Jude sat at the homework-covered table, staring at his math problems. Did you mean it? I asked softly. What you said about me being my mother? He looked up, eyes wet but determined. You pack my lunch every day. You help me with homework. You come to every school thing. You protect me. He took a shaky breath. That's what mothers do, right? I pulled him into a hug, feeling his tears soak into my shirt. Can we call Van and Tamara? He asked. I don't want to do math right now. Already here, kiddo. Van's voice came from the doorway. He and Tamara must have arrived during the confrontation. And we brought pizza. And ice cream, Tamara added, holding up a bag. Some situations demand both. Later, after Jude had fallen asleep on the couch during our impromptu movie night, Van showed me his phone. Marcus filed the appeals, he said quietly. But don't worry, they're weak, desperate. Like Ingrid, Tamara added. I looked at Jude, peaceful in sleep, then at my friends, my real family, gathered in my living room. Let her try, I said. Some things are worth fighting for, and some battles. I tucked a blanket around Jude. Some battles you keep fighting until there's nothing left to fight about. Speaking of fighting, Van smiled. Wait until you see what Anton found in Ingrid's financial records. Tomorrow's going to be interesting. For the first time in weeks, I felt truly confident. Ingrid was right about chaos coming back around. But she'd forgotten one thing. I'd learned to thrive in it, while she was still trying to run from it. The morning sun streamed through Anton's office windows as he spread the documents across his desk. The fraud investigation uncovered something interesting. Ingrid wasn't just stealing from Jude. What do you mean? I leaned forward. She was running a small-scale Ponzi scheme through her social media, convincing her followers to invest in fake luxury vacation packages. He tapped a series of bank statements. The FBI is very interested. My phone buzzed. Tamara. Turn on the news. Now. Anton flipped on his office TV. There was Ingrid being led out of her apartment in handcuffs, her perfect image finally crumbling. The headline scrolled, Social media influencer arrested in investment fraud scheme. She wasn't just stealing from Jude, Van said from the doorway. She was stealing from everyone. My phone rang. It was Jude's school. Ms. Blair, Ingrid's here trying to remove Jude from class. We've called the police, but I'm on my way. At the school, I found Ingrid in the principal's office, still in her designer clothes from the arrest footage, looking wild-eyed and desperate. You can't take him, I said from the doorway. He's all I have left, she whirled on me. They're taking everything, my accounts, my passport, my reputation. I won't let them take him too. You took him from yourself, I replied quietly. Every time you chose everything else over him. Police sirens wailed in the distance. Mom? Jude stood in the doorway, Van right behind him. What are you doing? We're leaving, she reached for him. Just you and me, baby, like it should have been. No, his voice was firm. I'm staying with Aunt Noelle. You don't mean that, she pleaded. I'm your mother. A mother wouldn't steal my future, he said. A mother wouldn't try to kidnap me. A mother would protect me, like Aunt Noelle does. The police burst in, but Ingrid barely seemed to notice as they cuffed her. I did it all for you, she cried. Everything was for you. No, Jude's voice cracked. Everything was for you. It was always for you. As they led her away, she locked eyes with me. You think this is your happy ending? You think you've won? This isn't about winning, I said. It's about protecting him, something you never understood. That evening, our house was full of people. Van, Tamara, even Anton came by. Jude sat at the kitchen counter, pushing pasta around his plate. Hey, I sat beside him. Want to talk about it? Is she going to jail? Probably, but that's not your fault. None of this is your fault. He nodded slowly. Can I ask you something? Anything. Can I call you Mom? His voice was barely a whisper. Not because she's going away, but because you're the one who acts like one. The room went quiet. I pulled him into a hug, feeling tears stream down my face. I'd be honored, I managed. Group hug, Tamara announced, wrapping her arms around us both. Van and Anton joined in, making Jude laugh for the first time that day. Later, after everyone had gone home and Jude was in bed, I found a drawing on the kitchen counter. It showed two figures, one tall, one small, surrounded by hearts. At the bottom, in his careful handwriting, to Mom, Aunt Noelle, love Jude. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number, Ingrid, somehow still reaching out. You may have won this round, but karma comes for everyone. I smiled, thinking of her words from what felt like a lifetime ago about chaos coming back around. She was right about karma, but wrong about everything else. Sometimes karma looks like justice. Sometimes it looks like a little boy finally finding his real home. I typed back one message before blocking the number. You're right. Karma does come for everyone. It came for you in handcuffs. It came for me in crayon drawings and bedtime stories. Guess we both got exactly what we deserved. Looking around my kitchen, at the homework spread across the table, the artwork on the fridge, the photos of Jude and me with our chosen family, I finally felt complete. The chaos had come full circle, but instead of drowning in it, we'd built something beautiful from its ashes. Mom? Jude called from upstairs. Can you check for monsters? Coming, buddy. I headed up the stairs, each step feeling like coming home. Some battles end with handcuffs and sirens, others end with crayon drawings and monster checks. But the best endings? They're not really endings at all. They're just better beginnings in disguise. Beginnings in disguise. Beginnings in disguise. Beginnings in disguise. Beginnings in disguise.